Welcome to Scars to Stars, where conversations and personal stories let us know we are not alone. In this show, you will meet authors and speakers from our books and events as they share vulnerable personal stories to spread hope and inspire you through adversities in your own life. The world is a difficult place. You will find like-minded people here with kind hearts and supportive souls. I am your host, Dina Brown Mitchell. I am a suicide survivor and the founder of the Realize Foundation. I am so glad you are here. Let's dig into this meaningful conversation. Hi, everybody. It's Dina at the Realize Foundation, and I have a special guest today, Amandine. Welcome. I'm so excited that you're here.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Awesome. We're going to have some good conversation today, but I want you to introduce yourself and tell people what you do.
Sure. So my name is Amandine, and I am a sound healer, meditation teacher, Reiki master, spiritual coach, among many other modalities. And I help people release their blockages, their limiting beliefs, their everything, stress, anxiety, the kind of thing that holds us back.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to shed that out, reset our energy centers so that we can have a clearer mindset and manifest the things that we do want to see in life. That's pretty much what I do.
That's awesome. We all need that. So will you tell us this story about how you got here? Like what in your past did you overcome and what made you want to do this kind of work?
Sure. Thank you for asking. So I've had for the longest time since I was a kid a love for energy healing. Discovered that when I was about 6 years old, when my mom took my baby brother and me across the country to go see this healer that was in the middle of nowhere. And that guy just helped us in 5 minutes by just putting his hand on my baby brother. He did in 5 minutes what doctors had not been able to do for over a year. And when I saw that, the 6-year-old that I was like, wait, that's a thing. You can help people with energy. And so from that moment, I knew I wanted to help people in the same way he did. And at the same time, I was always very resonant with music. I was helping to channel things in and out. And I just didn't realize that those two things could blend in together. And through my life, and I think COVID was really a great moment for me, that it gave all of us a lot of time to sit down and reassess our lives. And for me, it was just, I started to train to basically move toward becoming a professional in the field that I always echoes deeply in my soul. And as I was learning to become a meditation teacher, yoga teacher, and continue to do music, eventually I kind of realized that there was such a thing as sound healing. And that's where I stopped wandering and I just put all my energy into that field. Because the truth of the matter is, as I was learning those tools, I also realized how those tools were teaching me more than just the practice. They were teaching me about myself. They were teaching me how to face the things that I had been struggling with for all my life, basically. And those tools helped me move past those baggages, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so I just realized after learning all of these modalities, how much more in control of my own thoughts, in control of myself I was. I was no longer in reacting to my ego and to all the thoughts or that, voice. I was listening and I was deciding, I want to follow this or I don't. And that was just so transformative and freeing that's when that's when I decided this is what I need to teach others, that we all have a story in our head. And those stories can sometimes be uplifting, but sometimes can pull us down. And it's just that fight in piercing through that veil and rediscovering ourselves.
Yeah, that's important. That's fascinating. So I'm wondering, you said you have been through a lot of struggles. I'm wondering if you would share maybe just one of them, because this podcast is really about overcoming adversity and resilience. And so a lot of people come on this podcast to share a story that's, lots of them are hard to talk about. And so we try to talk about that to give other people hope that they can make it through something. So would you mind sharing something like that with us?
The hard thing for me, honestly, is to pick the story because um, anybody that has known me for, since I was a teenager would tell you that the person you're seeing right now is not the person that, would have showed up even 10 years ago. I struggled for almost a decade with food issues, the big B kind of word. And I've had moment of deep absolute not understanding why I was doing the things that I was doing, feeling completely trapped.
Mm-hmm.
I also dealt with a lot of, and I think it's all tied together in the end, issues with self-esteem, self-confidence, that voice in your head, like you're not good enough. So yes, you start to follow those diets, to try to be good enough. You buy that makeup because maybe that's the thing that will make you good enough. And I was in those spirals of dealing with a bad relationship with my body, a bad relationship with myself. Because of that kind of issue, I started to vibrate at an energy that would bring similar people into my world. And I met the wrong people, the wrong boyfriends that instead of helping me get out of that hole would just continue to feed it and just made me feel like, well, maybe that's all I deserve. And yes, I had moments that were really difficult. I honestly, like, just because I didn't have the tools to understand, to pass that, to get out of the loop of I'm not good enough, I need this, and that infernal spiral. Um, and honestly, at the time, I was just like me just trying to make it through the day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only once I starting to learn those tools that I was able, block by block. It didn't happen overnight, right? It's like you learn a little something about yourself, and you try to meet other people, go in different circles, try to do different things, and through little healings here and there, then you start to build up. And when you build up, when the student is ready, the teacher shows up. And that's how I felt it was happening. Like I made this tiny win, and then a new thing was coming to show me the light. And one step at a time, eventually the light became brighter and brighter, and I was realizing that I was, coming out of the tunnel. But for the longest time, even through my process of getting better, it was always like this, right? Sometimes you're like, "Oh, I'm doing better, this and that." I'm no longer hurting myself or this kind of thing, and then something happens and you fall right back in it, because I was just so well versed. I had completely accepted the story that I was telling myself and what others were telling me, that I was not good enough. And when you don't know how to look inside of you for the answers, and you keep looking outside, that it's the healing is never complete.
Yeah, I can relate a lot. I wrote, I think it was in our Scars to Stars book 4, I wrote a chapter called Addicted to Approval, because since I was a kid, it was all about getting other people's approval. And I think as we get older and we learn, some of us take a long time to learn this. Maybe you learned it faster than me, but that we just have to love ourselves, and we
Yes.
have to be, you know, comfortable in our own skin, kind of thing. And I think a lot of
Mm,
the people that follow Scars to Stars is because they don't have that comfort in their own skin, and
yeah.
they're looking for someone else who says, "Hey, I've been there too, and it's okay."
Yeah. It is so and it's such a shame that we take so long to remember that the most important relationship we're ever going to have in this lifetime is with nobody else but ourselves. That's the only person that we meet the first in our lives, and that's the last person that we get to be with. So it's so important to be kind. And when I say kind, and I don't mean it in a way that no matter what we do, we're patting ourselves on the back. That's not what I mean, but we have to be honest with ourselves. But at what point, honesty becomes a toxic voice. And that's where I feel like it's important to make that distinction. But also I think that the more we learn to love ourselves, we allow ourselves to understand that we are worthy of love. That's, I think, also a deep one, that we naturally start to make the difference of like, okay, I'm starting to love myself through the lens of unconditional love. I will continue to hold myself to a good standard, but not with pressure, with love. And I think that that's the motto that we don't understand, and it takes us so long. We don't live in a society that teaches us those things. That's the problem. Even the spiritual, the big houses in the world and like religious movements, they don't. I was born in a more Catholic culture. They teach us that we're bad, we're full of sin, and we're burn in hell. Like, how are we supposed to love ourselves with that kind of start?
Yeah, I
But
agree. And I know everybody believes in their own thing, but faith in God is really big for me. And I
yeah.
think that it my husband gave me this little book. He put it in my stocking at Christmas like 10 years ago. And it's called Jesus Calling. And it's like
Mhm.
a daily thing. It doesn't take long to read, and it feels like God is just talking straight to you. And you can, if you don't believe in God, I still believe this would help you. But it's just such a great message to about what we're talking about self-love and how much he cares for us and how, all of those things. But I read that every day now for 10 years, and I have notes on all the pages of special days and stuff. And so it's just something that's become a ritual for me when I was younger. I mean, I grew up in the church and all that, but once I went to college, I was way far away from any kind of faith for a while, and had a lot of just rough things. And that was the time my suicide attempt was, during that time. And that's why we're here doing this, because people need to know that people care and that we're kind to each other, like you said, and that they're not alone.
That's very true. And when you say we're not alone, it's not only there are other people around us that are going through the same things, and slowing down and trying to connect with others that are trying to get better is such an important thing. But we're also not alone. You just said it. There is a way to directly connect to God, and if you don't believe in God, to connect to the universe. Whatever words will work. But that's a real one. That there is a loving and conditional love energy all around us, and we can tap into that. We're never fully alone, in the sense that there is a fabric of energy inside and all around us. We're fully connected to a greater energy, and it's just like, yeah, we just need to tap into that, connect with it, feel that love, and things just get so much lighter after.
Yeah. So do you want to walk us through, like, if somebody was going to work with you, what would that look like?
I have very different ways to work. I offer online classes for people who are looking for to create little rituals like this in their week. And I do two type of classes. One is sound healing. So where I do things a little differently is that I don't just offer a sound bath. There is always a setting an intention. 'Cause I think that setting an intention before anything self-care related is very important. It really changes the fabric of how um, you're going to experience that moment of self-care. And so there is that intention. We do a guided meditation, some breath work, sometimes even mantra singing, just to help create a vibration inside of us and connect deeply with all the fabric of who we are. And then once everybody is in a very deep, relaxing state, that's where I do a sound bath to help deepen the effects of the intention and the peaceful state that people are in. So that's one thing. And the second thing that I do, which has been very fun, I started last year, is intuitive singing. I invite people, how we are all born with a culture that tells us don't make waves, don't be loud, and I'm like, well, today we're doing the other thing. We're going to be loud, we're going to use our voice without even making words, just like pushing emotion out with our voice. And it's been very playful, helping people connect with their creativity, their intuition, and the results that I found were transformative. So that's the two pillars on which I usually work with groups. And when I work on one-on-one, there is obviously a much more therapeutic layer that comes into my sessions. Like I mentioned at the beginning, I have different modalities. So I incorporate all of these modalities into my sessions. We start by doing some Reiki healing to really push the big blocks of what is happening internally. Then I use tuning forks that are amazing, call them my magic wands. Because tuning forks emit a frequency, and we as human beings are like antennas. The first sense that we receive when we are born is, before we're born actually, is our ear. And the final sense to leave us when we're going on the other side is also our ear. We are antennas. And even at the molecular level, we're nothing but energy. So when we hear the tuning fork with a very specific frequency, it sends a signal to our body, kind of like a piano that is out of tune. The tuning forks will retune us, and it sends that signal of like, this is how you're supposed to vibrate. And it helps all the part of us physically to come back to that healthy state. So I use the tuning forks with the Reiki to really help unblock what is happening in each chakra. And once this is done, sometimes I will channel certain things that I'm not really sure where it's coming from, but I will hear a word or something that I will just share with the person, or I will create a guided meditation, kind of almost like hypnosis, with what I'm hearing, to help the person go deeper in themselves and break the patterns that have been holding them back. And we always finish, kind of like my classes, with about a 10 to 15 minute sound bath to just help the person stay in that deep, relaxed state and allow more frequency to come and help wash off the blockages.
Mm-hmm. Will you, just for anyone who doesn't know what a sound bath is, will you explain that?
Yes. A sound bath is it's really fun. You don't need a bathing suit to join a sound bath. It's a blend of healing instruments, instruments that create healing frequencies, kind of like the tuning forks, which I sometimes use actually in my sound baths. I don't know if you can see, it's blurry, but crystal bowls that I use. There are 7 crystal bowls for 7 notes of the 7 chakras. I also use Tibetan bowls. We sometimes use drums, chokis, wind chimes, a lot of different instruments that will sustain long notes, and also some more rhythmic to create sort of a healing melody, so to speak. And it really wraps your whole being in those frequencies, and you feel kind of like a cocoon. And usually what happens is that when you stay in that state and in that sound bath, after a certain amount of time, which can be anywhere between, I don't know, 15, 30, 45, 60 minutes, you come out and you really feel refreshed, because those frequencies penetrates you, right? Just like, again, anything, there's a lot of frequencies that we don't even hear in the world that come through us. So those frequencies will come deep inside of us and help us create sort of an internal massage that helps move away the things that are not resonating at a healthy level. And yeah, help us feel clearer and lighter. It's usually what people are feeling, sense of peace and lightness at the end of that kind of experience.
Hi there, it's Dina. If you like our podcast and you're enjoying learning about other people's stories of overcoming adversity, please go over to therealizefoundation.org and support us by donating. We believe that conversations, community, and personal story can change lives and reduce suicide ideation. And we also have a way, if you have a business, you can support us without money out of your pocket. So go on over to realizefoundation.org and look at the donate page, and you can learn how to support us as a business, and also you can donate any amount. Thank you so much. It's kind of like an elevated experience from like being in a spa. You know how when you go to the spa and they put you before, after your treatment, and you sit in a place where they just is music, and it's kind of like that, but it's much more elevated, correct? Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
Yes, because when you go in a spa, very relaxing. But when you listen to something made by a sound healer, usually there's a lot of mindfulness into which frequencies are being incorporated in the sound bath. So yes, it's a lot more precise in the healing modalities that it will provide.
yes. So I want to talk about frequencies because I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
I listen to a lot of things on YouTube that are different frequencies that say they're for different modalities. Like, oh, this one's for kidneys, this one's for, different things. But I don't have a lot of knowledge about it. I just know that they're soothing and I like to listen to them.
So for instance, I just had this past weekend a beautiful couple that came, for two different healings. And one of them has big bones issue. He had an accident, over 10 bones fractured. So one of the things that I did is that I took low frequencies. I took the 64 and the 32 hertz frequencies because they are really good to deeply ground you, and they're also good for regenerating the bones. So I started with this. Then we have frequencies that are here to open our heart, like the 526, I believe. And so I use that too to create some softness and kindness, inside. By opening your heart, you have a tendency to be less wanting to be harsh on yourself. So there was all of these things that I started to do. And yes, there is a frequency for everything. So the fun exercise for me is to find the right frequencies that will help with the person's challenge. And I just talked about physical, but I try to address the fact that there is heart opening. So it's not just physical oriented. That's the beauty of sound healing and frequency healing. Like I said, everything at the base of our world is frequency related. Every action that we do, even our emotions, are sort of energy and frequencies that are released all the time. So once we start to understand how it works, the beauty is that we can apply our understanding of frequency to address our internal struggles first. When we are in a bad loop, like we were talking earlier, it's a certain very low frequency. Shame, for instance, is among the lowest one on the spectrum. And so when we find a way and we use tools that are working for us to bring that vibration a little more up into the spectrum of our emotions, we're starting to feel a lot better. There is obviously, steps. So if you take one step, you're not going to be at the top of the tower, but you're still one step up from the previous frequencies that you were in. And so the higher you get, the lighter you feel, the healthier you feel. And that's so when you understand that there is frequencies that can bring you down, you understand also that there are frequencies that can bring you up. And that's why sound is so powerful. You were mentioning the medical world is starting to get interest in it. A good example that I love is there is more and more hospitals that are starting to have those frequency generators. And they've discovered, for instance, if you put a 7 hertz somebody's kidney stone, that will make that kidney stone implode. So it gets into tiny pieces, which makes it a lot easier for the patient to release those elements without all the pain that usually they will get. And that's just 2 to 3 frequencies that I mentioned. There are scientists that are studying all of these frequencies, because now the game is to really find what each frequency can be beneficial for our bodies and our mind. But it's amazing. I mean, there is so many examples across the world. I've listened and read so many books on. There is hundreds upon hundreds of studies that have been done from. We've seen patients, that suffer from Alzheimer, that were starting to feel a little better. Not saying that they were healed, but just starting to feel better, not having those lost moments as often as they would, or who were starting to remember certain things. And so if we can tackle Alzheimer, with certain frequencies, imagine the kind of thing we can do with depression, with our lack of, self-esteem, with anything under the sun when it comes to our mental health. And, like I said, I've struggled for the first 35 years of my life with trying to figure out how to live in this world and how to feel like I was good enough. So when I started to realize that there were tools, like meditation, that I needed to create my rituals to create space in myself and being mindful of what was happening, that was powerful. But when I learned that there is also frequencies where I don't need to sit for 2 hours every day to feel the benefits, but those frequencies within a few minutes of listening to them regularly would help and give the same result, that was a no-brainer. And that's why I'm so passionate about this field, because I'm seeing on a scientific, spiritual, and deeply personal level all the benefits that are starting to unfold from it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And there's also a lot of people talking about frequencies in the sense of success and business and money. And is that something that you also believe in? Okay.
Yes, I really believe in the theory of attraction. I mean, that comes from the same roots, that the frequency that we emit, the intention that we're setting. When we send a message to the universe and we say, this is where I'm trying to go, can you please help me? We're starting to see, maybe not right away, but when we are actually inside of us, we're starting to see doors open in front of us. And sometimes it's not exactly the one we were wanting to see open, but if we push, oh my God, this was what I actually needed. So I really believe in that our mindset is thought shapes our inner dialogue. Our inner dialogue shapes our actions. Actions shapes our habits. Habits shape our life. So yes, I believe that there is definitely something that we can attract: more success, more abundance. I do sound baths related to manifesting all the. And it's that concept of help yourself, set that intention, and you will see the respond positively and help you in that endeavor.
Yeah, that's amazing. So if people wanted to learn more from you or work with you, how would they find you?
You can find me on my website, harmonicodyssey.com or AmandineLRH.com. I'm also available on all social media: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, even Pinterest. So I'm mostly active on Instagram. So if you want to send me a DM, feel free to. I'm always here to try to answer questions. I also have a 20-minute free session for people who have a very specific situation and they would like to explore how I can help them. So it all starts on my website. You can go there, and I have a section where you can either follow your own self-paced courses or schedule a one-on-one with me.
Awesome. That's amazing. I think it's a very good, I've talked to several people that do what you do or something like what you do, but I've never had anyone explain it as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I try. I mean, it's such a rich world and it's new. And we've touched, we talked about it a little bit earlier. I'm very spiritual. I definitely don't believe in the materialistic mindset that the world is mechanic and dead. I've experienced too much in this life to think any other way. And so it's beautiful to see something that is, opening the field to spirituality in a healthy manner, and but is also connected to science. 'Cause I hate those world where we get too woohoo, so to speak. So it's very important for me to have the feet on the ground and the head in the stars. If that makes sense. And I just think that it's amazing that we live in a time where we're starting to, in that field, it's starting to manifest. And so yes, it's beautiful. There is so much to learn. So I'm glad that you find my explanation useful.
Yeah.
Because yes, there's a lot in it.
Yeah. I think for me, it's also about learning about yourself through some of this, because how do I explain this? When I first started talking about suicide publicly, it was really hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was nervous. I owned a business. It was just kind of an odd thing to just start talking about, and it was very hard. But I learned so much through that journey, and I think when people write their story in our books for Scars to Stars, they talk about, I'm going to come write my story and help others. And then by the end, they're like, oh my gosh, that helped me so much. And it's so healing to write your story. And so I think that happened to me too, in multiple ways. I first started journaling, and I'm saying this for our audience. So if you guys are listening, this is something that can really help you if you're struggling, is journaling. Get the junk out of your head and on paper, and then you can also get in way deeper, like what we're talking about, where you're just learning more and more about yourself, and you're getting to know yourself better and better. Because I think sometimes we can go through life not really understanding ourselves.
Yeah.
And
that's heartbreaking when you start to be on the other side and you realize the beautiful thing that we are as human beings. We're amazing. And for anybody that is like, as I'm saying this, please stop and repeat after me. We are amazing human beings. Think about the person that you love the most in this world. You're like, okay, that is an amazing human being. Whether it's the Dalai Lama or I don't care, whoever you put a name, they're a human being. They have the same type of cells. They have the same brain. They just pass through their fears, through the story that they were telling themselves. And so yes, when you're on the other side, you want to be like, no, you're worthy of love. You're worthy of understanding that voice is not you. It's your ego. And your ego is a fantastic tool that is here to help you stay alive. So don't try to just completely shut it off. Just allowing to say something, and whatever it says, we often say during my meditation, like, watch it pass like a cloud. You would never try to hold on to a cloud. That would be silly and a waste of time. Do the same thing with the thought, and you'll then be like, oh yeah, like I said to a friend smoker, is like, next time you hear like, oh, I would want to have a cigarette, watch that thought, don't move, and see what happens. And you're going to see like, oh, the thought passed. I didn't act on it. I'm in control. It's not that thought. And I think that's the most important, pushing through our self-beliefs, pushing through the story we've told ourselves, and say, no, I have the potential of anyone on this planet from the biggest leaders to, whoever. I can look at them and say, I am just as worthy of the success, of the love, of everything that person has. You just need to put that intention and do the work on yourself and towards your goal. And that's when you're going to see that things are clicking, that healthier people are coming into our lives, or people are coming into our lives, point that there's new doors that are opening. And that's the beauty of life, is like, wait, why didn't I do that sooner?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing.
And that's also why I want to say, Adina, thank you for the work you do. Because people need to hear that. People need to transcend, and I'm sure that through this episode that you're sharing, you've helped more than one person. And so thank you for doing that work, because it's so important.
Yeah, it is. And I also think the other part to that is like the hard stuff that we go through in our lives. I think when I was younger, I just thought, why me kind of thing, like, why do I have to go through this? What is the point? And now I look back on all of those kinds of things in my life that I've been through, and I'm thankful for each one of them, because it has made me who I am. It has brought me to my purpose. And it's just a different way of looking at it. And I think this earlier in our life, we can understand that and be thankful for it, the better life we're going to have.
Yes. And then, all you want to do is find a way to go back in time and rock your own self and hug yourself and like, hey, honey. I think that's the beauty of life itself, is that we have, we just need to look where we don't know how to look, inward, learn different tools. I mean, that's the beauty also of human beings, that there are so many different modalities in the world to help us heal, that it's all up to us to find the way that make us click. Journaling, sound healing, meditation, mindfulness, walking, doing sports. I mean, when I was working on climate, I can guarantee you that was a really hard time in my life. My energy was at an all-time low. I was struggling with ongoing, depression, like not wanting to eat, that kind of thing. And it's, like understanding the energy that you're in, understanding that you need to pull yourself out of that, sometimes create that realignment with yourself. And at that time, for me, that was boxing. A couple of times I was so full of, certain type of angry energy that I boxed it out. And then, so we have different modalities that help us push things out. The most important is to hold ourselves by the hand with kindness and love, and be like, okay, what can we do to get out of this loop? And try different things, being curious, because the rewards on the other side are just so much better than holding on to our traumas because we're afraid of what's after.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I think it's going to help.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Well, we'll put all the links and everything in the show notes for you guys, and you can reach out and see how Amandine can help you with her free stuff, or maybe you can work with her.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again for having me on your fantastic podcast. It was a blast. And I wish everybody a fantastic rest of your day, and continue to shine bright, my friends.
I'm so happy you joined us for this conversation. My wish is that you found comfort and hope in your own unique situation. If you resonated with our message, please head over to therealizefoundation.org, where you can apply to write your own story in one of our books. You can also download our 60 Ideas for Self-Care on the resources page. I can't wait to hear from you. Until next time, you are not alone, you are worthy, and you are enough.